What's up, Destiny Squad? How are you doing this morning? Nice and early, a Saturday morning. I hope that you are. Oh, I'm not seeing the top of my head. Is that better? All right. Nice and early. It is so cold. I hope that you are staying well, or probably you are having a lie in, well deserved. Um, it is so cold. I have actually seen where the UK government, or people who are responsible, are actually putting in place, shelters for the homeless. And I think that is a very good thing. But then I ask the question. Sometimes, I ask the question, okay, if you're able to do it whenever we have like the cold snap, then why not have these shelters open all the time for the homeless people to sleep? But then I think perhaps there is a reason. Perhaps because I've heard that some people prefer to stay on the street because they actually get more, I would say, help. They get more money that way because passers-by will actually give them something, when they're going by. But you know what? Let me drink my tea, because if I don't drink my tea, I probably will continue talking on that. And that is definitely what this morning is all about. Okay, so that's much better. Of course, sometimes I'll get carried away because the little Potisha will come out in me. For those of you who are not aware of it, Potisha is one of the characters in some of the skits that I actually do. If you notice, the recent ones that I've done, I've tried to mix the patois with a little English, because some people were not understanding what I was saying in the first two skits, because I actually spoke in full patois. And when speaking in patois, patois tends to be fast. I don't know about anybody else, but when I'm speaking in patois, I tend to speak faster. So just to say, yeah, that is the reason why I have sort of changed it up. I've tried to speak slower. I've actually tried to, speak more on the English side. Of course, a little patois comes out every now and then, but yes, that's it. It's not going to be a long live this morning. And of course, it came as a result of an article that came out in, I think it was on Sky News, where Jamaica will be, or I don't know if it has imposed it as yet, it's a widespread state of emergency that is going to extend to other parishes that perhaps were not included in the former, curfews, put it that way. So this morning, what I want to do is to actually address the role that perhaps deportation plays in in criminality in some countries, on some islands. Of course, it's probably not going to be popular, but this is my opinion. I hope that, if you have your opinion, always you can share it. And of course, the WhatsApp calls only. The number is 07930976688. If you're calling from inside of the UK. Outside of the UK, it is +44 7930976688. Okay, let's get into it. And as usual, you know that I'm going to do a bit of research before I actually start giving my opinion or anything like that. Bear with me, just bear with me. I'm not going to be very long this morning because Saturday you have a lot to do and I have things to do as well. And that includes making some videos for next week. Okay. So this is what I have found out. In an article that appeared in the Guardian newspaper on the 12th of May of this year, most Jamaicans facing deportation from the UK, I don't know if you would recall that there was a charter flight with 20 Jamaicans on it for deportation. And of the 20, 13 of them were being deported for criminality activities. I don't know if you were aware of it, but to the best of my knowledge, if you commit a crime and your sentence is a year or longer, then afterwards you are deported to your island, to your country. The problem with this is that 13 of the deportees, the people who were being deported, actually left Jamaica as children. That's the problem. Okay, then I actually have a look at what's happening in the US in terms of how many people were deported and everything like that. If you were not aware of it, a lot of the people, most of the people who are deported from the USA. And this is what I have found. So according to Loop News on the 4th of July 2022, they actually did a research, and this is what they discovered. In 2020, 653 people were deported from the US, and in 2021, 501 were deported from the US. Of the numbers, 85.4% of deportation was for criminal activity. So when you look at it, of course, these are not innocent people. These are people who were involved in criminality being deported to Jamaica, being deported to elsewhere. So let's look at it. What is the effect of that? Now, recently I have seen where the Prime Minister has actually visited the US, and it was specifically to have talks with the US authority in the hopes of perhaps putting in place, to come up with a solution, a way of actually curbing the crime level that is that Jamaica is experiencing at the moment. I think that they are trying to work out something similar to what the Scotland Yard had with Jamaica back in the past. Okay, so let us look at it. Is there a role where deportation actually is contributing to the high level of criminality, the high level of crime that is happening in Jamaica at the moment? If you look into it, a lot of the people who are being deported actually left Jamaica as children. So some of them don't have that real connection with Jamaica. So you will find that some people actually have this resentment from the time that they actually land in Jamaica, because there is no identity. They cannot relate to what is happening in Jamaica. And I'm not sure if there is a reform program in place in Jamaica where the people who are being deported are actually shown the ropes, to say, this is how you get your TRN, this is how you apply for a job, with general support in actually getting back into the Jamaican society. If that is not in place, remember, we are not talking about innocent people getting back into the country. These are already hardened criminals. Some of them would have spent like long years in prison because of so very terrible crimes that they have done in the first world country. And if you notice, I spoke about US, I spoke about UK. Of course, there are deportation from Canada as well, but it's not on a large scale. So that's why, US is the top, then UK, you actually have Canada as well. Okay, so when I say that these are not innocent people, these are people who would have been exposed to really hard crime, really hard way of actually, robbing people, actually, doing devious things. So when they land in Jamaica, some people actually see them as, probably glorify them, probably thinking, and I'm not talking about honest people. I'm thinking about criminals already in Jamaica. So you see it like as a situation where the Jamaican criminals can learn from the deported criminals. They can actually provide, the Jamaican criminals can probably provide them with the weapons that they need. The deportees, with the criminal deportees can actually provide them with different ways of actually doing things. So when you have them getting together, of course, when they come together, of course, the situation is going to be even worse. Because if you continue to have these deportations, then don't expect the situation to get any better. So I hope that, over time, things will get these partnerships with either the US, the UK, Canada. I hope that at some point, the partnership will include probably not deporting these people. Because when you look into it, sorry, sorry. When you look into it, these people actually they committed the crime in these first world countries. So if I think that if the crime was committed in the first world country, in addition to you having them serve, the sentence in your prison in the first world country, you should be responsible for reforming them in society as well. You should not just pass on that part of it to another country, a third world country, where, overpopulation is a part of it already. The infrastructures are already not in place. So when you pass on this kind of responsibility to them, what do you expect to happen? Of course, they are going to struggle. And what you are seeing now is as a result of it. So I think that more needs to be done. I think that the first world countries need to take more responsibility. And in taking more responsibility, a part of it has to be that when these people commit the crime in your country, especially those who they have left for years, some of them don't have anybody back in Jamaica. So you can see that, yes, they are going to commit crime. They're not going to pardon anybody because they cannot identify with what is happening on the island. All they need is that they need money. All they know is that they need money. And if it means that they are going to commit crime, serious, very serious crime, taking people's lives, they are going to do it because they have nothing, no remorse. They'll feel no remorse because they cannot identify. It's not like they are saying, this is my island, I am going to take care of it. It's not going to say, this is my brother, this is my sister. It's not like you can say, okay, there's going to be retaliation. No, they just cannot identify. They already have this resource. They're already hardened criminals. So I don't see how it helps when they are deported to these islands. All I can say at this point, I hope that the state of emergency that is being declared, I hope that the third world countries will actually come together, work with the Jamaican government, and to see how best, they can put things in place. And of course, people on the ground, I really hope that, if your family is involved in criminality, I hope that if you can speak to them, you can speak to them to say no, because when you do this, it does not just affect you, it affects the image of Jamaica around the world as well. The ripple effect of it will be that, okay, if a state of emergency is declared in Jamaica to curb crime, then what you're going to have is some countries are going to issue like warnings to their citizens not to travel to Jamaica. And of course, you know that Jamaica depends a lot on the income from tourism. So we don't want our beautiful island to be spoiled by anything like that. And I'm hoping that at some point we are going to hear where, the governments of the developed country will actually work with the Jamaican government. And it's not just in Jamaica, I'm talking about the Caribbean islands as well, if they are going through it. I hope that something can be worked out that is going to have a better effect, and it's something around deportation of criminals. This was all I wanted to say. What I am trying to do is to actually address topics. This is what I want to do going forward as well, is to address topics as soon as possible as they come up. And like I have said, of course, I'll be getting other people to join in as well. Okay, have a lovely weekend. Enjoy the rest of your day and be good to yourself. Until then, I say peace, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Bye. Ah, my stream doesn't want to end. Huh?